This lecture is about mindfulness. This is less about nutrition or exercise and more about how psychologically we're affected by some of our behaviors. I'm suggesting that in all of these videos that you take notes and you just jot down a topic to bring it back to mind that we can use in discussion board, whether within other students and see how they're reacting to the same material, or asking questions of me, or just commenting on where you see yourself. And so do you recognize your habits, your routine? And when we discuss why we eat and the traps that we might fall into, such as eating too fast or distracted eating, or not having healthy choices available and settling for convenience over healthiness, any of these kinds of things would make for a good place for us to discuss with one another. Mindfulness comes from, and is very similar to, intuitive eating, and this has been around for a long time. There was a very popular book written in 1995 by a bunch of dietitians. And basically what it's saying is paying attention to your body and eating only when you're hungry, stopping when you're full. It doesn't limit what you eat or how much you eat. You don't count calories. The idea is listening to your stomach and knowing when you can stop. It's certainly true that many people who are overweight eat for reasons other than hunger. And when you reach for the chocolates, the snack foods, or the comfort foods, it's often because you're stressed, depressed, or bored. There are other social cues, such as having lunch or dinner, even though you're not hungry. Or when you eat unconsciously, like snacking while driving or putting away a bunch of popcorn because of the advertisement in the movies. This is all the opposite of intuitive eating. Intuitive eating is trying to get you to be mindful of, are you hungry? Hawks maintains that counting calories doesn't work, and he's probably right if you look at all the weight loss programs in the United States. The idea that you can lose weight by learning to recognize when you're really hungry and when you're full and eating accordingly makes more sense than trying to diet and just restrict calories. It's very close to mindful eating, which was where we're going to really finish up here. And that means just simply slowing down, expressing gratitude for food that you're eating, and paying attention to the feeling of fullness. Focusing on why you eat instead of what you eat may turn out to be the best route to healthy and permanent weight control. Now, this is Dr. Andrew Weil. The first guy was Dr. Hawkins. And what we want to do here is see that this is supported in a lot of different areas. This isn't just one person's opinion. So as we start this, we want to look at some definitions. Hunger is a physiological need for food. You need to eat. You need to have blood sugar. You need to have protein and fats, all of those kinds of things. You need to have that. Appetite, though, is a psychological or emotional desire for food. Oh, that looks so good. Oh, that smells so good. Oh, they're eating that. I want to have that too. Brian Wansink is who we're going to follow most of this. He's at Cornell University, and this is his main area of study, and you see him everywhere. And I'm going to suggest you look up some of his YouTube videos if this is something that looks interesting to you. So he starts with, there's some differences between males and females, and some of this has to do with what do you think their comfort foods is. So right now I'm saying females, asking you to think about yourself, if I just wanted to improve my mood, what food would I have? And males, typically the same. This is a generality, not always true. It does seem to tend to be true in my classes. The males enjoy more entrees, whether it's pasta or steak. They think of a whole meal. Where females tend to enjoy and think about snacks, whether they're salty or chocolate and sweet or those kinds of things. Not a big deal. We just want you to be aware of yourself and what is a comfort food for you. There's going to be a lot of things in here, and maybe this is true for you and maybe not. The point of all of these is to say, does this register with me? And so here when we say most people eat 90% of what they serve themselves, that's not a problem if you put the appropriate amount of food on your plate. But if you overfill your plate and you're going to eat 90% of it, that's not good. Our culture tells us to finish your plate. It doesn't say, oh, I'm not hungry anymore, let's leave that food. So when they ask people what determines how much you eat, most people don't think it's their circumstances. They think it's how hungry I am. But that's not at all what's found in Dr. Wansink's research. the serving sizes in our culture keep getting larger and physical activity is reduced, we start becoming a bigger and bigger people. So overall, we want to avoid refined carbohydrates, the sugars, and we want to eat more fat in the form of plant oils. We want to eat more protein and eat more fiber. Now, in some of the research of Dr. Weinsink, he's looked at the kinds of glasses we use, where we put candy dishes, all of these kinds of things. And so we're going to look at this, and it doesn't mean it happens for you. It just means let's be aware and have an awareness of what kinds of things affect us. So if you add 10 calories a day, 100 calories a day, in a year, you would add 10 pounds of weight. A chocolate kiss is 5 chocolate kisses are 125 calories. So you can see how if you did that every day, if you had 5 chocolate kisses a day, you'd add 10 pounds. But the reverse is also true. If you cut out something 125 calories per day, you could lose 10 pounds in a year. So as we look at some of those foods and think about that, 50 calories per day then would be about 5 pounds. And so one Oreo cookie is 53 calories. 3 Oreo cookies, that would be about 160. A fudge-covered Oreo is 110. And 3 reduced fat Oreo cookies contain 140 calories. 1 Reese's cup is 88 calories. So it's not very big things over a sustained period of time can add up and make a big difference. Okay, now some of the experiments. This is kind of weird, and you'll just have to understand that his laboratory is a room set up like a restaurant sometimes. And so what they do is they have people come in, and sometimes they fake them out and they say, you're here for an interview or whatever. And I know this sounds weird because it's never happened to us. But as they came into the room, sometimes they were handed either a large or a small bowl of carrots. I know that's never happened to us. But what would happen is, when they're handed the bowl, people ate 12 carrots from the large bowl and 8 from the smaller bowl. And 6 and 3 carrots when it was placed across the room. So if it's handed to you, you're going to eat more. If it's a big bowl, you're going to eat more. But if it's away from you and it's smaller, that's when you're going to eat the least amount. Just think about if you see this in your life. Now, this one I think you're going to like, because this doesn't just apply to food. This applies to everything. And what they did was they went to like a Costco, and they took convenience foods, candies, chips, cookies, granola bars, those kinds of things. And to some of the people on their way out, they gave them 4 bags of chips or 12 bags of chips. Then what they did was they came back after a week, and they wanted to see how many of the bags they still had left. And what happened was, if you had 12 bags, if you have a lot, if you have this stockpile, you will eat more. But if you have a smaller amount, you seem to save it more. And so sometimes, if you fall into these traps, then maybe you need to repackage your food into smaller packages, and so that you won't be tempted this way. But let me go further. This also works with shampoo. If they give them this enormous size of shampoo, people pour more into their hand. Toothpaste. If it's a big toothpaste tube, you will squirt more onto your brush. As you get to the end of it and it becomes more scarce, you end up putting a smaller amount on there. They did the same thing with dog dishes. If they give them a little bag of dog food, they were skimpier in how much they gave. But if it was a huge bag of dog food, they would give the dog more. All I'm saying is, see if this works for you. If there's a big box of cereal, do you pour more into your bowl? If there's a lot of juice in the fridge, do you pour more? And when it's less, you pour a smaller amount. See if this works for you. This is the stockpile syndrome. So we have this idea about the big containers, and maybe that's tempting to you, but maybe just be realizing it, you can overcome this and give yourself smaller serving sizes. This idea of popcorn worked the same, and we're going to hit this again later. You're going to hear some of these stories twice and with cartoons, and I think that's all right, and we'll try to do a spin on this. But the same thing happened with spaghetti boxes. If they gave them a big box, they would take double the amount of spaghetti as if they gave them a small box of spaghetti. They also did a kind of a tricky one where they had a refillable soup bowl, where they had a tube into the bottom of it, and the soup bowl kept filling up. So they kept eating more and more soup, 40% more soup, because it didn't get to the bottom of it. So it wasn't their stomach, it was there's still soup in the bowl, so I'm going to keep eating. Again, we grow up in a culture where cleaning your plate is a virtue, but we need to be aware of that. And then we also have a lot of opportunities for buffets. And what those studies show is that there's more variety. We're going to try more different foods. So when you really are bored and you only have a few foods, we tend to eat less. But if we want to sample every little thing, we can end up with a lot more calories. And then we'll see that a price at buffets matter, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. So we want to be aware of served in large containers. We're going to hit the popcorn, and it's stale, doesn't matter. Cleaning our plate, buffets, location of the food, and do we have healthy foods available? This is Professor Wansink, and you can go online and find a million of these little short things. He's been on the Today Show. He's on all these kinds of things. Some are better than others, but it's all pretty interesting. You get a flavor for how he does his research. Here is one on the Today Show where he was talking about, even with bartenders, people that are used to this, people visually estimate amounts differently. So when it's in a long tube like this, it looks like there's more. So they're going to pour more into the short, fat one. Not a big deal unless you're watching calories. Then maybe you want to have long, tall glasses so you think you have more than in the short, fat ones. So a lot of this has to do with that in the United States particularly, we don't quit when we're full. And so what we want to see here is that what are some of those situations where that happens? One of the things that they found is that descriptive labels increase sales. And so here we have a guy over here, and he has chocolate cake, and apparently he's not real happy with it. Mine was just okay, and I'm still hungry. But over here, this guy had, instead of chocolate cake, he had Belgian Black Forest double chocolate cake. This tastes great, but boy, am I full. And the waiter is saying, if they only knew they had exactly the same cake. So when you look at a menu, when you are choosing food, those adjectives are important. See if that works for you or not. This is the most important one, and we're going to see it several times. But this research shows that most Americans eat with their eyes. How much we're going to eat, our eyes are going to tell us, not our stomach. And so see if this is true for you. Now back to that buffet. What the research showed was that when they charged more, people ate more. They wanted to get their money's worth. But the more they ate, the less they liked it. So their satisfaction with it was, oh, it was okay. But if they ate less, they enjoyed it more. So maybe try that. Eat less. See if you really enjoy each mouthful. And see sometimes when you overconsume it, do we lose some of the appreciation for the food? And that's going to tie into another homework assignment you're going to have later. This is the one that we talked about where the secretaries, either they put the Hershey Kisses on the desk or they put it 6 feet away. And by having it 6 feet away, they ate less candy. So convenience matters. And the nice thing about this is that was also true with healthy foods. So when they put a dish of carrots out there, people ate more of them than when they were just further away. So here it says, I don't know how you can resist these chocolates. Well, they're 6 feet away, and here you don't even have to move to get them. Here's some things that may or may not affect you, but what they found was that heavy people chew less, a little bit less than thin people. They sit facing the buffet. They're more likely to use a fork rather than chopsticks. And that thinner people, excuse me, somebody just came to my door and I was interrupted. So here what we see is that this person, the larger person, has a tendency to be looking forward to the next thing they're going to eat, while this person knows, I'm not going to eat everything here, so I'm going to go be selective and pick and choose which things I might get the most enjoyment from. Again, this person tends to chew a few more bites than this person. And then this is just more of a symptom of settling in and relaxing a little bit. 2 times as likely to put the napkin in the lap and such. And then 3 times more likely to use a small plate. All these things seem silly, trivial, but it Just see if it works for you. This is interesting. College students during the year tend to go down in their healthy food, and the junk food then goes up. I think, too, there's a difference in my semesters. I think this is worse going into Christmas. And I think going into spring and summer, people get a little bit more outside and recreational. I think they're a little bit healthier. But see if that's true of you. See if you have tendencies of time of the year where you ebb and flow with your healthful habits. Again, this is another way to say the same thing, but it's so important that this is true of Americans, not necessarily other people around the world, that it's not the stomach that tells us when we're full, but it's the eyes that tells us when we're done eating. Here, this is pretty interesting. 60% of favorite comfort foods are snack foods, and we know that most people either like sweet or salty snacks, and that's why you see all those packaged. This is fine, but your comfort food can change. One of the things I used with my kids as they were growing up was, look, you can try this food, and if you don't like it, that's fine. I'm going to introduce it to you 7 times in your lifetime. After 7 times, I'm never going to have you eat it again. All you have to do is try it. If you don't like it now, you don't have to finish it. But what I'm trying to teach you here is your taste buds change, and that you can like something later in life that you didn't like as a kid. And what I'm trying to do is try to put that idea in there that it's not just once and always. That you can be open to new foods. But this situation is where we used to just maybe crave candy or something like that for comfort, that maybe now it's a healthy bowl of soup, something warm. And now I know a lot of people that enjoy a good vegetable meal, and I know some of you right now are going, no way, but be open to it. Okay, I'm going to talk about how weird I am, and please forgive me here. But I see this, I believe this, but I didn't know how much. And so what the research says is the first thing you see, you're 30% more likely to eat. Okay. And so if your cupboard is full of snack food, what are the odds you're going to eat it? I don't know if you can notice here, but down in the corner there's an apple. So what are the odds that this person's going to have chips for a snack or an apple? Well, I tried this with my own family, and I understand I'm weird, and I'm okay with that. So what I did was, I wanted to see if this was true. So I went and bought a 5-pound bag of carrots. So when people open our refrigerator door, I hope the first thing they see, and I even set it up like this, is carrots. And you know what we found? We ate all those carrots. Sometimes when you have a lot of something, they'll get dried out or old or moldy or whatever. When there's this much, so it goes back to that idea of the Costco idea and the large servings. If you have a lot of this around, you tend to do it. Then what I did was, carrots are fine, and everybody in my family eats them, and we snacked on them more. When they open it, and they go, oh, I want a snack? Here, I can have carrots. Well, I went and bought family-size servings of hummus. And so hummus, chickpeas, they're ground up, and some of them had flavor, some of them were just plain. But here's 2 good things that you can eat as a snack, and you don't even have to worry about how much you eat. I mean, it's all pretty good for you. And so this worked for us, that when we have an abundance, my wife's not thrilled when I take up this much of the refrigerator with carrots, but it was still a fun experiment, and we still tried to get bigger serving packages of more of the healthful foods. And so similarly, if you want to have some candy around cookies, just don't buy the biggest bag possible unless you know that you can handle that size. Again, what's out? So we do this as well. On our counter, we sometimes have a cookie jar or something like that. But more than likely, and my wife, who has to live with these kinds of things, she goes, let's put that away in the cupboard. This is not something we're going to have, because I find myself eating too many when I go by. So we just put it in the cupboard, and that reduces the amount of temptations, let's say. And then we leave out the things that we want to eat more of. In our family, we can handle the calories in nuts. Nuts are huge on calories. You only need, 7 to 9 of them to get some of those healthy oils and such. But we have those out so that if you need a snack, take some. But if somebody was going to eat a whole bunch of them, then that would be a problem. So here what they're saying is, if you leave out the cookies and they're too accessible, you're going to eat them all. This is really summation of what I've been saying several times here. And so when they do these studies internationally, what they find out is the Parisians, who tend not to be as heavy as we are, they stop eating because of internal cues. They have a feeling of fullness. So here it says, I stop eating because I know, oh, that's Italian, isn't it? Sorry. Because the food no longer looks good. And over here, this guy is, I stopped eating because the plate is empty and the TV show is over. So people tend to eat as long as the football game goes, as long as there's still food on the plate. If it's filled up again, they'll keep eating. These people say, I can leave this. I'm satisfied. I'm good for it. And again, the more they eat, the less satisfied they are with the food. And over here, you feel better about the food and the taste of the food when you don't overeat. So again, a difference between internationals and our culture. And that could be because of that clean plate mentality that we have. Here's one, it's not my favorite, but they say it's important in the research, and that again is mom here prepares this Royal Hungarian steak surprise. And the kid goes, why didn't you just call it goulash? And it's because we wouldn't like it as much. The big box idea, and will you serve yourself more if you buy a bigger serving size? And again, this one, we're eating slower, so we're ordering more, and we're eating so fast we don't even know we're full. So here's two temptations. And with college students in the cafeteria, people are sitting around, and what is noted, and it's not just me, I mean, I notice it here, but it's not my original research, is that when the conversations are fast and when people are excited and they start talking faster and faster, they eat at that same tempo. And what's really important then, is what can really be useful, is to put your fork down and slow down your eating. Talk, then take a bite. Talk, take a bite. But if you're shoveling the same speed of someone else, it's a big deal. See if your tempo is matched because of conversations or how fast other people eat. It's a big deal in our house that we try to slow down even when other people are eating fast. Our kids eat way faster than my wife and I do. Just see if that's true of you. If you're always the first one done, try to slow down. And then here, eating fast, you can put in a lot more calories before your brain has had a chance to register that you enjoy it. Again, this is one of my weird things. I'm sorry. One of our favorite things, is we come to a basketball game, and maybe we buy Subway. And we come up, and on these nights, I know you guys eat a lot more than I do, but in general, I can eat a half a Subway and be fine. And one of my favorite things is to sit there during the game and have half a Subway sandwich and take a bite, then wrap it up and put it down. And I go 2 or 3 minutes, I take a bite, wrap it up, put it down. And it takes me forever. The guy I was sitting next to goes, "You've been eating that sandwich for a whole half. When are you going to finish it?" And here's the deal. Not only do I slow it down and feel full with half a sandwich, I enjoy the sandwich much more than when I eat it quickly. And sometimes our schedules say, hey, I have this much time to eat, that's all you can do. But it is truly one of the things I enjoy the most is to eat where I can set the food down. When I never go to lunch at Point Loma because I would rather eat at my desk, take a bite, do some work. Take a bite, do some work. And that way I feel full with way less food, and I can get my work done and go play later. Here, people have the idea sometimes that these comfort foods are going to help us improve our mood or feel better. But in general, a lot of studies say that I'm eating this to stay in a good mood. I'm not eating this to try to get into a good mood. And so see if you can find healthful foods that are going to make you feel better. Now we get into this idea of marketing and the psychology of this and how much we are affected by these kinds of signs. All of you should be affected by this. You probably have only known trayless cafeterias, but back in the day we used to have a tray, and my understanding is they quit doing that because of water conservation and not washing them and those kinds of things. Well, in this, a lot of colleges have done this, and what the research shows is that when they took away trays, they still ate the same amount of desserts, but they ate 21% less salad because there wasn't a place for it. So again, there's a convenience attitude here, and and they don't want to do without their dessert, but they're willing to do without the salad if it's inconvenient. Vegetable lovers tend not to have as sweet a tooth, so you should kind of know, do I like salty snacks or is it the sweetness that I love? And so it's not too hard to get people to eat fruit because it's so sweet. But vegetable people generally are different, and they don't need the same amount of sweets to enjoy a meal. Now, I'm going to go into some of the detail that I skipped earlier on this popcorn research. And what they did was they took people to the theater, and then they said, okay, look, we're going to give you some free popcorn. And sometimes they got a larger package, and sometimes they got a smaller one. And as we've already talked about, they ate more if they had a larger bucket of popcorn. Okay, that's not surprising, probably. But then what they said is, well, people say they eat because they're hungry or because the food tastes good. So let's see if that's really true. So then what they did was, sometimes the moviegoers were given fresh popcorn, and they ate 45% more if they had the larger bucket. But then they came back and said, okay, well, let's see if they really enjoyed the popcorn. So they give them a couple days old stale popcorn. And again, even if it was stale, they ate more if they had more of it than they did when in a medium bucket. So the point of this is, it's not that we like it, it's because it's there that we eat it. Well, that's filling us up with calories that we probably don't need. Here, doubling the size of a container, we've talked about, and here's some percentages: 18 to 25% increase in the consumption of meals, and 30 to 35% increase in consumption of snacks. And so if this is true for us, then we need to be careful on how we package these kinds of things and what we buy. And so if we are, then either buy larger packages of healthy foods like fruits and vegetables, and buy smaller packages of unhealthy foods, or when you get home, divide the larger packages into smaller portions. But hopefully, just having an awareness of this, we can stop ourselves from falling into some of these traps. So here again, I just want to push this Cornell research and Dr. Brian Wansink, and see if you want to look at his YouTubes or something like that. That's pretty interesting. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine and the Hippocratic Oath, said, if we could give every individual the right amount of nourishment and exercise, not too little and not too much, we would have found the safest way to health. Now, quickly, because I don't want to take too much time here, but there's 15 traps that maybe we fall into. And again, if these mean something to you, you can look them up in the PowerPoint, but otherwise I'm just going to go through them quickly here. And so, again, this is the idea that if you sit in front of the TV with a bag of chips, how many do you think you're going to eat? One of the rules we had in my house was that you can have a snack once in a while, but take it out, put it in a bowl, put the bag away, put the clip on it, put it in the cupboard. Now, go sit down with your snack. It was an appropriate size. And you're going to eat that much, and you're probably too lazy to get up and get more. But if you had the bag, you would eat a lot more. And so if we know this about ourselves, maybe we can avoid some of those kinds of things. So here it is. The markets put certain things at eye level, and they put it eye level for kids, and they put it as adults, trying to sell you on those. And so decide beforehand how many sweets you're going to have. Some people say less than 10% of your diet calories should come from non-nutritious food or less nutritious food. I don't care how you figure that out for yourself, but know that supermarkets are trying to put things at eye level for you to tempt you. Similarly, they'll put tempting foods next to staples. So Twinkies are near the bread and the oatmeal. And again, if you know this ahead of time, you can maybe avoid that. This one's pretty interesting. If you put anything on the end of an aisle, sales go up 25 to 30% of it, even if it's not on sale. And if it's on sale, it even goes up higher. So what's usually there? Soda, chips, frozen pizzas, other things. You don't usually see apples or anything like that on the end of an aisle. If you feel like you're getting a great deal, so here's a coupon, and then you say, oh, I have a coupon for this. It's such a great deal. So now I'll go buy that junk food that I wouldn't have bought otherwise. So it gives you a permission. It goes across the inhibition or the inhibition that you have to say, oh, I'm not going to eat those donuts. But if I have a coupon for donuts, then it's okay. you know that they're going to make you see everything in the grocery store. So they put the milk and the eggs in a far corner, and most of the time you can't get there directly. You have to weave in and out of aisles to get there so that you will see other things along the way, because they know that there's a better chance that you'll buy one of those things. The other thing here with diet foods, fat-free cookies aren't a caloric bargain if you eat the entire row. So people tend to eat more if they think it's low-fat or sugar-free, and it can wreck your main goal of trying to be healthy. Think of it this way. The package front has the sales pitch, but the back is the fine print, is your contract. How about smells? So you know every airport's going to have Cinnabons and those kinds of things, and that's going to make you hungry. Fresh baked cookies, bread, all those kinds of things. Here on campus, it's kind of interesting. I teach mostly 7:30 classes, and so when I can smell that sausage and bacon from the dining commons, but where I am in my life now is I do enjoy the smell, but when I look at it, I see all the fat and the calories and such, and so I'm not as tempted. But the smell itself is pretty good for most of us. Now, sometimes there's serving sizes that just don't make sense. So a lot of times in stores, those vending machines, that it'll be a big muffin or something like that, and you'll look at the calories, but it's for, the serving sizes don't match it. And so it's really 2.5 servings. And so is that what a normal person needs to eat? And so those calories, you have to go 2.5 times to figure out how many if you ate the whole thing. They're getting better on labeling laws about that. Value menus, again, if you think you're getting a good deal, your odds of buying it are better. And so you'll pay the extra 20 cents because you get a few more ounces of a drink or whatever that is. And so here's some examples of that. Here they make it feel like, wow, I can eat this because I'm getting such a good deal. And so here we have Taco Tuesdays, and Thursdays apparently, and 3 for $1, 3 for $2.09, all of these kinds of things. Fish tacos on Tuesdays. How about February? Subway has great deals. You're getting a great deal because you're paying $5 for the foot long, and so you go, oh, I'm gonna get the whole foot long instead of a half or whatever. Or we go get the foot long and then try to save half of it or share it or something like that. I can't remember what this one was, February. Look at McDonald's. Every day there's something, right? Well, I don't know what happened to Thursday and Sunday, but most days you can go in and feel like, oh, Tuesday, I can get my 2 McMuffins for $3. And they try to make you feel like you're getting a great deal. Same with Jack in the Box. Here it's Alberto's, Tasty Freeze and their Wiener Schnitzel. Anything, they'll try to do that. Now, here's one that's kind of tough. And what I'm saying is, the point of this message here is sometimes the entree is fine, but it comes with things that are killing the whole thing. So whether it's gravy on top of mashed potatoes, whether it's the fries with the entree, Southern California is the best place I've ever found where they let you substitute. Almost every restaurant understands that there's pretty health conscious people here, and they'll let you not have fries. There's